Hola mi gente, we're back again. It's Kat, and welcome to Kat and Too Many Books. Thank you for being here. This should be my last video in this particularly lovely, have I even shown this sweatshirt? It dates me. It's Garfield. And it says, what does it say? You've obviously mistaken me for someone who gives a whoop-de-doo. That's kind of me sometimes. Yeah, I loved Garfield when I was growing up. I still love Garfield. But anyways, so I am back again. I did change a little bit. Put on some earrings. You know, earrings change everything. Let me tell you. My glasses, I changed my glasses to my pretty pink glasses, and I put my hair up. And we're back again because this time we're going to be talking about the nonfiction that I would like to get to this year. Some of these I will specifically getting to very soon because they're library books, so I have to send them back. One is for grad school, so I have to read that. And then the rest are actually books that I own that I would like to read in the next while. If I could read them in the year, that'd be great, but I'm not going to force myself to. There are some that I will be reading this year. I, again, was inspired by, Lisa, I'm kind of a little obsessed with you. You're the best. From the Unhinged Women's Book Club. She has gotten me into wanting to do nonfiction. She read like a Napoleon sort of like biography, nonfiction book kind of thing, and it looked like she had such a good time doing it that I was like, I should probably start reading some nonfiction. This looks like a good time. I will not be reading an 1100, I think it was 1100 pages she read or something, book tome, maybe not even that much, but it was a big book. Yeah, I was inspired to say, you know what, I need to get to my nonfiction. And I actually have a lot more nonfiction than I thought. I have more nonfiction that trends like biographies because I'm really always very interested in people. Okay, let me stop rambling because I've been rambling for 2 minutes and we need to just get right up into this. So let's talk about the books that I'm going to be reading that are from the library. I have one specifically that is an actually interlibrary read. So I actually have to read it by the end of the March. That's good. I still have a little bit of time. But you can't see it because the way that our interlibrary works is that, like, if you have a library, you have to keep this on here because it has all the information. But this is actually a book I read through one of my grad classes. I think it's my social justice class. It's called Sweetwater, and it's written by, Lord, let me see, Robin M. Bowlorn. It's Sweetwater, Black Women and Narratives of Resilience. And this is told in such a wonderful narrative style. It is about like Black women and society and the way that they have been persecuted and they have been marginalized and how they have had to always be the strong ones. And it's told through the perspective of I believe Robin's childhood and like her the town of Sweetwater. So I think it might be the town she grew up in, and it's just sort of through a narrative of her life talking about all of these things that Black women have had to face. And I am so excited to read this. It's actually really short. It's 124 pages. I can read this in a day. And I will be reading it in a day because I probably need to read it in the next bit. So I want to get it back in time. And it is due in March, but like it's like end of February now. And so this is probably going to be on my very beginning of March read. So you might see this again in my March TBR. But yeah, I wish I could show you the cover. It's a great cover, but I can't, like, you know, there it is. But yeah, it's like a multi-generational story of growing up Black and female in the rural South. So I'm so looking forward to reading this. I read excerpts of it in a article I was reading for my grad class, and I loved, the reason I picked it up is I loved what I read and how Bowlorn like wrote this. Oh, anyway, looking forward to that one. So that's a library one that I'm going to read. I'm going to read these three in the next 3 or 4 weeks because they are due back at the library. I think, you know, my library does the thing where you can take them out again automatically. It lets you do it for renew them 2 times. So you get about 9 weeks. But I think some of these are new. So for example, I'm going to have to read one of these right away because the new ones don't renew. So these 3 were actually in the long list for the Women's Nonfiction Prize. So the women's, the Women's Fiction Prize for nonfiction. So the first one is Young Queens: 3 Renaissance Women and the Price of Power by Lee Redmond Chang. Yeah, this looks amazing. I'm gonna have to probably make some notes separately from this, and I should probably buy this because I'm gonna probably end up really loving this and wanting to like have it. But yes, it's talking about 3 different women in power, basically what it cost them to have the power that they have. So it talks about Catherine de Medici. It talks about Elizabeth de Valos and Mary, Queen of Scots. So it just talks about how they lived through the sea changes that would transform 16th century Europe, a time of expanding empires, religious discord, and populist revolt, as concepts of nationhood began to emerge and ideas of sovereignty inched closer to absolutism. They would learn that to rule as a queen was to wage a constant war against the deeply entrenched misogyny of their time. I'm so excited to read this. It's a biggie. So I think it's like 416 pages. All of this is like notes in the bibliography and acknowledgments and index and all that is needed in these books. And there's some good like illustrations inside of it. Oh, I love it. So yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this a lot. Oh, footnotes, exciting. So that's gonna be the first one I read of my library ones because it is new, and so that whenever it's new, my best friend April works at the library, so she reminds me the new ones are usually the ones that need to go back right away because they usually have a lot of holds on them. So I will try to get that one very beginning of March, so maybe next week. I'll try to read it. The next one I have is another one it's a National Book Award winner. It is also up for, so these are all I saw them on the Lauren in the Books did a live video of when the Women's Prize for Nonfiction list came out, the long list, and she went through it, and I just picked some of the books that sounded really interesting to me. And so all that she carried, The Journey of Ashley Sack, A Black Family Keepsake by Taya Miles. And this cover is lovely. It's actually a National Book Award winner. I think it was written a bit back, so I'm surprised that it's on the Women's Prize. Yeah, it was written in 2021. It was written in 2021, but I guess the Women's Prize might be a British award, so I think maybe it was published there recently, and so it's on their long list. Talks about a renowned historian traces the life of a single object handed down through 3 generations of Black women to craft an extraordinary testament to people who are left out of the archives. So it talks about in 1850s South Carolina, an enslaved woman named Rose faced a crisis, the imminent sale of her daughter Ashley. Thinking quickly, she packed a cotton bag with a few precious items as a token of love and to try to ensure Ashley's survival. Soon after, the 9-year-old girl was separated from her mother and sold. Decades later, Ashley's granddaughter Ruth embroidered this family history on the bag in spare yet haunting language, including Rose's wish that it be filled with my love always. Ruth's own words, the reason we remember Ashley Sack today, evoke a sweeping family story of loss and love passed down through generations. It looks like it's fantastic, and I am really excited about this one. Hopefully to be reading this in the next couple of months, because I'll have that one for a little bit longer. And then the last one from the women's long list that I was the most interested in is actually Some People Need Killing, a memoir of murder in my country by Patricia Evangelista. And yeah, this sounds fascinating. So a fearless, powerfully written on-the-ground account of a nation careening into violent autocracy, told through harrowing stories of the Philippines' state-sanctioned killings of its citizens from a journalist of international renown. Sorry, I paused because, I think we're all headed to that kind of thing in this particular nation we live in. But again, let's not talk about politics because, will get me going. So journalist Patricia Evangelista came of age in the aftermath of a street revolution that forged a new future for the Philippines. 3 decades later, in the face of mounting inequality, the nation discovered the fragility of its democratic institutions under the regime of strongman Rodrigo Duterte. Some People Need Killing is Evangelista's meticulously reported and deeply human chronicle of the Philippines drug war. For 6 years, Evangelista documented the killings carried out by police and vigilantes in the name of the Duterte's war on drugs, a crusade that has led to the slaughter of thousands, immersing herself in a world of killers and survivors and capturing the atmosphere of terror created when an elected president decides that some lives are worth less than others. This feels very of the now, because something very similar is happening in another Latin American nation. Currently, there is a president who the country itself has been plagued with crime and drugs for decades, and this particular president has come in with a strong hand and cleaned up the country. But the question is, how has he done it, and is he getting rid of or taking care of or imprisoning all the right people, right? It's anyways, I picked it up because there's something very similar going on currently. And I was really fascinated to read this and then continue learning more about what is happening in that country. And so, yeah, I'm going to definitely be reading this one again in the next couple of months. Because then those do have to go back to the library within like the next 2 months or so. I have about 2 months to read the last two. I don't have that long to read the Queen one, so I'm going to probably get to that right in March. Okay, so those were all the ones that I have from the library. There's one that I'm reading for, and so I'm actually beginning to read this one this week because it is for one of my grad school classes, and my grad school is over, the classes are over like, I think it's like end of April. And so I'm reading this as a part of a book club with some of my other classmates. And it is called Living for the City, Migration, Education, and the Rise of the Black Panther Party in Oakland, California. So it is, I am taking it's a grad school social justice issues class about teaching how to teach social justice in elementary, I'm an elementary teacher. It's really about higher education, the class, but I'm taking it because I'm super interested in how I can effectively teach social justice issues with my children. So it's really interesting to be in this class because I can take what they're teaching me and then just sort of try to figure out how to integrate it into my curriculum in my class. And living in the South, particularly in the state that I lived in up until last year when everything shifted politically, through some bribery, in my personal opinion, corruption, let's not get in there again, was one of the few states in the South that has always been very sort of evenly dispersed between the two political sides that we unfortunately have in this country. We should have way more than that. But now it's leaning more towards the right-wing conservative side, and they're coming for, as always, the teachers. And so it's going to be very difficult to teach what I need to teach. So anyway, this class came right on time. This is going to be part of a, like I said, book club with my classmates. And obviously it is about, again, migration, education, and the rise of the Black Panther Party in Oakland, California. There's like no clearer thing that it is about. So I am looking forward to this. And like the Black Panther Party did so much for the community while they were defending it as well. They were educating them and like for fair housing, and they began food programs and after school programs, and there was just so much that they have done in the name of their like community. And this, I think, book really talks about all of that. So I am going to definitely read this. I have to read it. It's for class. I'm looking forward to it. It is, hold on, how many pages? I'm looking, sorry, I got all the notes back here. All right, it's like 235 pages, I think. Yeah, it's like 235 pages. So that's not too bad. Okay, so yes, those are the ones I have to read as soon as I can, right away, because of class, and also, have to send them back to the library, so on and so forth. So you'll be seeing those in TBRs in the coming months. The rest of here are the ones that are on my TBR. Some of these I have already in my must read 24 books to read in 2024, which is a video I made a while ago and have never put up, but I'm gonna probably edit it and put it up soon because it's still valid. And so the first one we're looking at is, some of these are biographies, some of these are autobiographies, some of these are just nonfiction books about specific topics. I think I have like a true crime one in there. So these are all books I have in my, I own these, so I can read them anytime. But the first one I want to look at and read, and probably try to read this year. I feel it pains me so much. Leslie Jordan's How Y'all Doing? Misadventures and Mischief from a Life Well Lived. The tragedy of the passing of Leslie Jordan is, it makes me just still more than sad. It makes me extra sad now. I've my own feelings right now of my personal tragedy, or my personal loss, and this particular loss, it compounds mine as well. Like, it compounds what I already feel, because he was generally such a joy to have in the world, and he got so many of us through like COVID with just his stories and his just light and love, and he was a joy, and I'm still so very sad. And this is just like it's really short book. It's like not even 200 pages long, and it's just really all these little tales that he tells about his life and the things that he's learned, and kind of little pieces of advice. And I'm really happy to read it when I get to it. I kind of like, it's one of those that I want to read it, but I also don't want to read it. But yeah, that's on my TBR, my personal one. All right, so the next one I have, and I don't have these in any particular order, I just sort of stacked them. The next one I have is actually Zelda by Nancy Milford. So this is a biography written by Nancy Milford about Zelda Sayer. So Zelda, as you might know, was married to F. Scott Fitzgerald, and she suffered a lot of mental health issues, some compounded by Fitzgerald himself, who was an alcoholic and had his own mental health issues. And it's just, her life was sort of this tragedy that you just kind of, you have to kind of look at. And this particular biography really starts out about her as, she's like this Southern beauty. And she became like this big international wonder, and she met F. Scott Fitzgerald and moved, they were in the like jazz age. And so this is a result of years of exhaustive research. Nancy Milford brings alive the tormented, elusive personality of Zelda, and clarifies as never before her relationship with Scott Fitzgerald. I'm looking forward to it. I hope that this narrative leans more towards Zelda than the couple, if that makes sense. Like, I want to know more about Zelda than I want to do about F. Scott. Like, I'm fine with not really knowing as much, but I also understand that the relationship with F. Scott was such a turning point for her life, and also a hindrance of her life, and also really impacted her entire life, that it's probably has to be the hugest part of the book. So we'll see how I enjoy that, because I really do want to learn more about Zelda. I'll see how I like that. See how it's like formatted, and which voice is the largest or the most important in it, which is really what I want to know. All right, so the next one I have, oh shoot, there's another one I need to get. Hold on a moment. All right, I'm back. There was a couple that I had forgotten to grab, so I'm glad that I grabbed them. And let me just actually start with these. Okay, sorry. So the next one I'm going to talk about is Mrs. Sherlock Holmes by Brad Ricka, which is tells the true story of Grace Humiston. She was a lawyer, a detective, and the first woman U.S. district attorney. who was a society lady who turned her back on New York society and became one of the nation's greatest crime fighters during an era when women were still not allowed to vote. After agreeing to take the sensational case of missing 18-year-old Ruth Kruger, Grace and her partner, the hard-boiled detective Julius J. Cron, navigated a dangerous web of secret boyfriends, two-faced cops, underground tunnels, rumors of white slavery, and a mysterious pale man in a desperate race against time. So it's a narrative biography of this particular woman. So I am super intrigued. And next week is Women's History Month. So I will be probably focusing all my reading on women as well. We should focus our reading on everything all the time. Like, we need to be as, tú sabes, diverse and inclusive as we possibly can. I try to do that. But you do know that I'm probably going to focus solely on women next month because I want to. So anyway, this might be a really good one to do next month. So there we go. Okay, the next one I have here is, hold on just a second. Okay, the next one I have here is The Science of Murder, all right? The Forensics of Agatha Christie by Carla Valentine. So I am super excited to kind of dive into this one. So I think it goes through the forensics of Agatha Christie murder, her books, the murders committed in her books. And this particular author, who is a anatomical pathology technologist, I think she has was it a mortician as well, but she also has professional development in forensic anthropology, and she's taken part in skeletal excavations in different parts, different countries. So she has basically written this book, which is going through Agatha Christie's novels. The cause of death, the motives behind violent crimes, the clues inevitably are left behind. And so she goes through the forensics of the stories and talks about, I guess, how accurate they are or how you'd go about figuring it out. So yeah, The Science of Murder, the forensics of Agatha Christie. Exciting. My next one is, I've been wanting to read this forever. Well, for as long as I've discovered this book, but it's called When I Was Puerto Rican, Esmeralda Santiago. But it's a memoir, so it talks about her childhood in Puerto Rico. It's just, I'm going to read the back. This is just, I don't know, I might cry when I read this book, When I Was Puerto Rican. It says When I Was Puerto Rican, or Puerto Riqueña, thank you, Esmeralda Santiago tells of a childhood in Puerto Rico full of both tenderness and domestic strife, a childhood bursting with tropical sounds and sights, and mired in poverty. As she grew up, Esmeralda discovered the proper way to eat a guava, listened to the sound of tree frogs in the mango groves at night, the coquis, savored the taste of delectable sausages called morcilla, and learned the formula for ushering a dead baby soul to heaven. But when her mother, Mami, a force of nature, decides to take off for New York with her 7, soon-to-be 11 children, Esmeralda, the oldest, must learn new rules, a new language, and eventually a new identity. So, esto es for all of us, todas nosotras, that left Puerto Rico and came somewhere else. Because I, myself, also grew up in Puerto Rico for some of my childhood. And moved out here when I was quite young. So yeah, the next one I have after that, I feel like I'm going to get emotional with that book. So we're going to just kind of move on a little bit. And when I read it, I will get emotional with you. The next one I'm on ages me a lot. Not ages me, but it tells you a bit of how silly I am in some ways. I'm kind of a geek. I love certain things. I'm an 80s kid. I grew up, my childhood was in the 80s and my teenagehood was in the 90s. So I love the 80s a lot. Most of my favorite movies are set in the 80s, and this was one of my favorite movies. And I watched this movie, I swear, every single day when I was about 10 years old. I made my mom put it on every single day when I was 10. And that would be The Karate Kid. So I have Waxing On, The Karate Kid, and me. I have Ralph Macchio's like biography. So yeah, look at him. Like he's just starting to look really like sort of his age, but for my God, for years and years, that man did not age. So this is sort of self-explanatory. This is just Ralph Macchio talking about his life and I think the effects of Karate Kid on his life and his career. And also, you know, I know he talks about Pat in here, Pat Morita, who played Mr. Miyagi, who I know he said was a big influence in his life as well. So, yeah, this should be fun read for me. He talks very specifically about Karate Kid in that part of his life, and that is a favorite movie of mine, so I am looking forward to that one. All right, the next one that I want to talk about, Me by Elton John. I think one of my friend's moms gave me this. One of my friend's mom gave me this a long time ago, and it is obviously Elton John's autobiography. So it's Elton John just talking about his life and his music and all the people in his life and everything. So he just kind of talks about himself, which is something that we love. We love the icon that is Elton John, but it's something he particularly likes to do. So I'm looking forward to listening to him, hearing his voice, because he is, I think, really hilarious. Also, I love this picture. I genuinely love this picture so much. I think this is a great cover. Okay, so we're going to move on from there because that's not much to say about that biography except it's Elton John's biography that I'm going to read. This next one I've had for a while and I've been meaning to read it. And it is called Vincent and Theo by Deborah Hilgeman. Yes, Deborah Hilgeman. So this particular book is about Vincent and Theo. So Vincent and Theo Van Gogh, because it's how they had like a very deep and like connected friendship, like really enduring friendship, the brothers. And it talks about how Theo was like Theo was Vincent's champion and sympathizer, confident friend, supported Vincent as he struggled to find his path in life. They shared everything. So this is drawing upon immersive and meticulous research, including analysis of the 658 letters Vincent wrote to Theo during his lifetime. She weaves a tale of two lives intertwined in the extraordinary love of the Van Gogh brothers. So I'm looking forward to it. I love the back. It says here, it's like a, so like it's a self-portrait, obviously, of Vincent, and then that's Theo, I believe. So that's Theo, and that's Vincent. It's Vincent painted this pair in 1887, a self-portrait while wearing Theo's gray felt hat, and a portrait of Theo wearing Vincent's straw boater hat. Theo's portrait is the only one Vincent is known to have ever painted of his brother. So, yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this. I love that it's got such meticulous sort of research, and it really looks sorry, I just opened the inside and saw she has a lot of his paintings, illustrations of his paintings in here. Oh, pictures of his paintings in here. Oh, I love it. And then I think a bigger I could take a bigger look at on the two portraits from the back of the book. When I'll read it, I don't know, but definitely one of those that I want to read. All right, the next one that I have is Make Love, The Bruce Campbell Way by Bruce Campbell. So this is like the second biography that Bruce Campbell has written. He wrote one called If Chins Could Kill, which is really about like his earlier life and his earlier career. And I think this one sort of picks up where that one left off. I think he also has more sort of stories about like his early career and things like that. And it just sort of talks about him, but it's like little stories, like really like funny stories that he tells about like his career and his life in Hollywood. You know, he's like the biggest B actor that there is. He's like one of the most successful B actors that ever has been. Like generally. And so yeah, it just sort of talks about his career, and I really enjoy like Evil Dead. And I enjoy his like his movies. They're very enjoyable to me. So I just kind of wanted to hear a little bit more about his career. And I read If Chains Could Kill, which was really funny and interesting, and really truthful talk about Hollywood, which I found interesting. The next one I have, and this one is one this one's one I'm reading. This is one of my 23 in 2023. I'm sorry. Good God. This is one of my 24 in 2024. What is wrong with me? 24 in 2024 that I'm going to be reading. And that is I'm Glad My Mother Died by Jennette McCurdy. I have not allowed myself to read this yet because I know that there's so much in here that it's going to be painful. Not because I had any kind of relationship like Jennette unfortunately had with her mother, but because even though she had that relationship with her mother, there is such a feeling of pain when you lose your mother, despite everything. You don't have to particularly like your parents or love your parents, but sometimes you can't help it, you know. And I'm really looking forward to like listening to Jennette's sort of story and her like health path that she's taken, the healing path that she's taken. And I know this is I know I've read has told me this is such a well written and just lovely kind of story, even though it takes on some very serious topics. You know, trigger warning for like eating disorders, mental and emotional abuse by a parent. I think also, of course, like depression, sexual harassment. There's a lot. There's like a lot in this book. So trigger warnings for that if you haven't read it or heard about it or want to read it, though. Just gonna put that out there. But I'm going to read this year. It is definitely on my 24 to read for 2024. And I will be glad to get to it. I also love the colors of this cover are gorgeous. I'm sorry, this yellow and pink, it's just insane. I love it. And yeah, I love that picture of Jennette. I'm really glad that she's gotten through her healing. I really loved Sam. Actually, she was the best part of iCarly. Sorry, anybody that actually liked Carly, but I didn't. Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't want to talk about like that. Seems like a demeaning thing to say when this is such an important topic. But to be fair, I really enjoyed. It was way after my time, but I actually watched it because I loved her and her character in it. But yeah, so gonna read this. I feel like I'm gonna like it. I hope. And then I have two more. And it's like a little bit of a trend with these because this one's, you know, yellow and pink, and this one has a little pink in it. This is 99 Glimpses of Princess Margaret by Craig Brown. So it's just kind of combining interviews, parodies, dreams, parallel lives, diaries, announcements, lists, catalogs, and essays. Craig Brown's 99 Glimpses of Princess Margaret is a kaleidoscope experiment in biography and a witty, moving meditation on fame and art, snobbery and deference, bohemia and high society. I'm not like a royalist. I mean, I'm not because I'm not from the UK, so why would I be? But I'm not someone who like, you know, follows the royal family or that into it. I mean, they're fascinating to me. The whole idea of the monarchy and them as people are interesting to me in that weird sort of cultural anthropological way. You kind of look at things sometimes and you're just like, wow, because they are such a big part of culture. They really, really are. But she specifically, Princess Margaret was one of the most fascinating of the family. I think she and Princess Anne are the two that I find the most fascinating, because they didn't always follow the rules, and she in particular did not. She was very different from her family in a lot of ways, which was probably why she was so beloved by people. I think she was very much relatable to a lot of people. So yeah, I'm really excited to kind of see her and learn a little bit more about her. She was such an interesting woman. She did, yeah. I always find it fascinating to hear all the things that she went through and her life. So last one, again, another pink one. Pink was, I was into pink apparently. This one is You Sound Like a White Girl. The case for rejecting assimilation by Julissa Arce, I think is how you say her name. In this powerful dual polemic and manifesto, best-selling author Julissa, I think it's Arce, dismantles the lie that assimilation leads to belonging and instead offers a bold new promise. When Julissa's high school crush told her she sounded like a white girl, she took it as a compliment. As a young immigrant from Mexico, she's been trying to assimilate ever since arriving in Texas. She spent hours practicing her English enunciation. Her family had bought into the idea of American exceptionalism, believing that anything was possible as long as she worked hard and stayed out of trouble. These beliefs led her to college and a prestigious job, but she soon realized she was running a race without a finish line. Sounding like a white girl was a racist idea meant to tame her, change her, and make her small. In this bold yet intimate book, Julissa provocatively combs through cultural commentary, veiled history, and personal experience to show that assimilation is designed to help Black and Brown Americans and immigrants in a purgatory. To keep Black and Brown Americans and immigrants in a purgatory, neither able to secure power and belonging within whiteness, nor in the community and culture whiteness demands immigrants and people of color leave behind. After exposing popular lies about whiteness, English, and success, she forges a path for reclaiming our history, identity, and culture. You Sound Like a White Girl offers a new promise. Only by turning away from the white gaze can we truly make America beautiful and find belonging. This is it, friends. Like this is the one. I will be reading this. Who you are is part of your culture. Obviously, we know that. So your accent is part of who you are. So it's ridiculous to think that you have to sound like a white person to do that. Like, do I? I do. But of course, I also grew up in the same sort of idea that Julissa grew up in, that this idea that you have to sound a certain way. Y eso no es verdad. Let's just say that. That's not true. So I'm really happy to read this one. I'd had it on my nearest bookshelf, and I was going to put it in my 24 books of 2024, and then I couldn't find it, I think, at the time. And so I left it off, but it is definitely one that I'm going to pick up and read. It's less than 200 pages, and this will be annotated and looked at like nobody's business. So, all right, y'all. This is going to be one of the big videos, and hope you enjoy it when you see it. And that was all the nonfiction that I plan to read this year. Please feel free to do your nonfiction that you're going to read this year. Can in the comment below if you want to tell me what you're planning to read for nonfiction this year. Are you reading any of the ones that I'm reading? Have you read any of the ones that I'm planning to read and want to tell me what you thought about them? That'd be great. Leave it all in the comments. Please subscribe wherever that button is, and I hope to see you guys soon again. You have a great day and the rest of your week, and I am going to go off and do something fun now that I am done with all these videos. Bye.